Have you ever noticed that some older adults seem to struggle with hot weather much more than they used to? Most people assume it's because they're getting older, but age itself isn't the real problem. The real problem is that after the age of 60, your body slowly loses some of its natural ability to protect itself from heat, and almost nobody warns you when that change begins. Every summer, thousands of older adults are rushed to emergency rooms because of heat-related illnesses. Many never expected it to happen to them. They weren't hiking. They weren't working outside. Some were simply sitting in their own living room with a fan running nearby, believing they were perfectly safe. My name is Dr. Kang. For more than 30 years, I've cared for older adults with heart disease, high blood pressure, and chronic medical conditions. One thing I've learned is that heat can become dangerous much faster than most people realize. Not because people make reckless decisions, but because they trust habits that worked perfectly well 20 or 30 years ago. Today, I'd like to share the 5 most common mistakes I see every summer. Some of them seem completely harmless. In fact, you may be doing one of them today. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to protect yourself, recognize early warning signs, and avoid the situations that send so many seniors to the emergency department every year. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you a question. How hot is it where you live today? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always interested to see how different the weather is across the country, and your answer may remind someone else to take today's heat a little more seriously. Now let's begin. The first thing you need to understand is why hot weather affects older adults so differently. When you're young, your body is remarkably good at cooling itself. As your temperature rises, your heart pumps more blood toward the skin. Your sweat glands begin producing sweat. As that sweat evaporates, it removes heat from your body. It's an incredibly efficient cooling system. But after the age of 60, several important changes begin to occur. You don't sweat as quickly. You often don't feel thirsty until you're already becoming dehydrated. And your heart has to work much harder to move blood where it's needed most. If you also have high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease, that cooling system becomes even less efficient. That's why a hot day that feels merely uncomfortable to your grandchild can become genuinely dangerous for you. And there's another factor many people overlook: humidity. People usually focus on the outdoor temperature, but humidity often matters just as much. When the air is already full of moisture, sweat can't evaporate efficiently. Instead of cooling your body, it simply stays on your skin. Your body keeps trying to cool itself, but the heat has nowhere to go. That's why weather reports often mention something called the heat index. It tells you how hot the weather actually feels to your body, not just what the thermometer says. Whenever you see a heat warning or a very high heat index, it's time to take extra precautions. Now let's talk about the first mistake. Mistake number 1. Believing a fan alone will keep you safe. Many people grew up without air conditioning. Opening a window and turning on a fan was enough. And on mildly warm days, it still helps. A fan moves air across your skin, allowing sweat to evaporate more efficiently. That creates a cooling effect. The problem begins when the air itself becomes extremely hot. Once indoor temperatures climb into the mid-90s, a fan may no longer cool your body effectively. Instead, it simply blows hot air across your skin. You may still feel the breeze, but inside your body, your temperature continues rising. That's what makes this mistake so dangerous. You don't necessarily feel that you're overheating. I've cared for patients who believed they were staying cool because the fan was running all afternoon. In reality, their body temperature had been climbing for hours. So what should you do instead? If you have air conditioning, use it during the hottest part of the day. Don't think of it as a luxury. Think of it as part of your health care. If you don't have air conditioning at home, consider spending several hours somewhere that does. A public library, a shopping center, a community cooling center. Even visiting a family member or friend for a few hours can make a tremendous difference. If you are using a fan, make it more effective. Take a cool shower. Place a damp towel around your neck. Mist your arms with cool water. Those simple steps help evaporation remove heat much more efficiently. Loose-fitting, lightweight clothing also allows your body to release heat more easily than heavy fabrics. The goal isn't simply to feel cooler. The goal is to actually lower your body's temperature before it reaches a dangerous level. Now let's move on to a second mistake. This one surprises almost everyone because it has nothing to do with the weather itself. It has to do with the medications you take every single day. One of the biggest surprises for many of my patients is learning that the weather isn't the only thing increasing their risk during a heat wave. Sometimes it's their medication. Now, let me be very clear. I'm not saying these medicines are dangerous. Most of them are life-saving. They help control blood pressure, protect your heart, reduce swelling, and lower your risk of stroke. The problem is that some medications make it harder for your body to stay cool. Take diuretics, sometimes called water pills. Their job is to remove excess fluid from your body. That's exactly what they're supposed to do. But on a very hot day, you're also losing fluid through sweat. Those two things happening together can leave you dehydrated much faster than you expect. Another common example is beta blockers. These medications slow your heart rate and reduce how hard your heart has to work. That's excellent for many heart conditions. But during extreme heat, your heart normally needs to pump extra blood toward the surface of your skin so your body can release heat. Beta blockers can make that response less effective. Some medications used for allergies, overactive bladder, depression, or sleep may also reduce sweating. And if your body can't sweat properly, it loses one of its most important cooling systems. Does that mean you should stop taking your medication during hot weather? Absolutely not. In fact, stopping certain medications suddenly can be far more dangerous than the heat itself. Instead, you should know whether any of your prescriptions increase your sensitivity to heat. The next time you visit your doctor or pharmacist, ask a simple question. Do any of my medications make hot weather more dangerous for me? That conversation only takes a few minutes, but it can help you prepare before the next heat wave arrives. If your doctor recommends changing the timing of a medication during periods of extreme heat, follow their advice, but never make those changes on your own. Now let's move to another mistake that catches thousands of older adults every summer. Mistake number 3, waiting until you feel thirsty. When you were younger, thirst was a reliable signal. You became thirsty, you drank some water. Problem solved. Unfortunately, that system changes as we age. Many adults over 60 simply don't feel thirsty until they're already dehydrated. I've met patients who proudly tell me, "Doctor, I never get thirsty." They believe that's a good thing. In reality, it often means their body's warning system isn't working as well as it used to. By the time your mouth feels dry, you've probably already lost more fluid than you realize. And dehydration affects much more than comfort. Your blood becomes more concentrated. Your heart works harder. Your kidneys receive less blood flow. Your blood pressure may suddenly fall when you stand up, increasing your risk of dizziness and falls. That's why I encourage my patients not to drink according to thirst alone. Drink according to a routine. Keep a bottle or glass of water nearby throughout the day. Take small sips regularly instead of waiting until you feel very thirsty. If your doctor has not restricted your fluids because of heart failure or kidney disease, steady hydration is usually much better than drinking several large glasses all at once. One easy way to check your hydration is to pay attention to the color of your urine. A pale yellow color usually suggests you're drinking enough. Dark yellow urine often means it's time to increase your fluid intake. And remember, water isn't the only thing your body loses when you sweat. You also lose important minerals like sodium. If you've been outside for several hours or sweating heavily, your doctor may recommend replacing electrolytes as well. not just water alone. Another point many people overlook is alcohol. A couple of beers or glasses of wine on a hot afternoon may seem harmless, but alcohol increases fluid loss and makes dehydration much worse. The same can happen if you're drinking large amounts of coffee without replacing those fluids with water. You don't necessarily have to avoid these drinks completely, just remember to balance them with adequate hydration, especially during periods of extreme heat. Now, the next mistake is probably the most dangerous of all, because it happens inside people's own homes. Mistake number 4, assuming you're safe because you're indoors. When most people think about heat-related illness, they picture someone working outside in the sun, but that's not where many heat emergencies happen. Every summer, emergency physicians treat older adults who never stepped outside. They were sitting in their favorite chair, watching television, reading a book, or taking an afternoon nap. The problem wasn't the sun. It was the temperature inside the house. As we age, we gradually lose some of our ability to recognize when we're overheating. Instead of feeling dangerously hot, we simply feel a little tired, maybe a little weak. Maybe we think, I didn't sleep well last night, or I'm just getting older. Meanwhile, our body temperature continues to rise. That's why I encourage my patients not to rely on how they feel. Instead, pay attention to your environment. Keep a thermometer inside your home. If the indoor temperature continues climbing and your home becomes uncomfortable, don't wait until you feel sick. Turn on the air conditioning if you have it. If you don't, spend a few hours somewhere cooler. Close curtains during the afternoon to block direct sunlight. Avoid cooking with the oven during the hottest hours of the day. If your home has multiple floors, remember that warm air rises. The downstairs level is often several degrees cooler than an upstairs bedroom. Even small changes like these can lower your risk significantly. And if you live alone, create a simple plan with someone you trust. Ask a family member, neighbor, or friend to check on you during periods of extreme heat. Sometimes a 2-minute phone call is enough to recognize that something isn't right. Now let's talk about the most important mistake of all, because recognizing it quickly can save a life. Mistake number 5, missing the warning signs of heat stroke. Your body usually gives you warning signs before a heat emergency becomes life-threatening. The first stage is called heat exhaustion. You may notice heavy sweating, weakness, dizziness, muscle cramps, a headache, nausea. You may feel unusually tired even after doing very little. This is your body's way of asking for help. Move somewhere cool. Rest. Drink cool fluids if you're awake and able to drink safely. Use cool, wet towels on your neck, under your arms, or behind your knees. Many people recover quickly if they act early. But if those warning signs are ignored, heat exhaustion can become heat stroke. And heat stroke is a true medical emergency. If someone becomes confused, has difficulty speaking, stops making sense, faints, or develops hot skin with a rapid heartbeat, call emergency services immediately. Do not wait to see if they improve. While help is on the way, move the person into the coolest place available. Remove excess clothing. Apply cold, wet towels or ice packs to the neck, underarms, and groin. These areas help cool the body more quickly because large blood vessels are close to the skin. If the person is unconscious or confused, don't force them to drink water. That can increase the risk of choking. Focus on cooling the body while waiting for emergency medical care. Those first few minutes can make an enormous difference. Final thoughts. I'd like you to remember one important message from today's video. Heat isn't just uncomfortable after 60. It affects your body differently than it did when you were younger. That doesn't mean you should be afraid of summer. It simply means you need a different strategy. Stay ahead of dehydration. Know how your medications affect heat. Don't rely on a fan alone during extreme temperatures. Keep your home as cool as possible. And most importantly, recognize the warning signs before they become an emergency. These are simple habits. They don't cost much, but they can prevent a trip to the emergency room or even save a life. If you found today's video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you shared it with a friend or family member over 60. A single conversation can protect someone you care about this summer. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me. Stay cool, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.